Who's the most important king that came from Judah? Jesus Christ is the most important king that came from Judah. David, Solomon, all the other kings of Judah, but Christ is the most important one. Nor a lawgiver from between his feet till Shiloh comes. So Shiloh, that for sure is Christ. That's another term of prophecy about Shiloh being peace. And to him shall be the obedience of the people. This even has an application beyond that to us, that we obey the Son of Judah and his scepter. We Christians do. We follow the one. Anyway, binding the donkey to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. He washes garments in wine, his clothes in blood of grapes. This certainly could be a reference to the crucifixion and him entering Jerusalem on a donkey. This certainly could be a reference to that, and so forth. Zebulun shall dwell by the haven of the sea. He shall become a haven for ships, and his border shall adjoin Sidon. So he ended up having, he predicted this long ago that he would have the coast of the northern part of Israel on the coastline. Issachar is a strong donkey lying down between two burdens. Now, that is not an insult. We would, if you went out with a girl and called her a strong donkey, she probably wouldn't like it very much. But this is not, they don't have the same attitudes of a donkey that we do. This was a prized thing. This was a good, strong donkey. It was a very useful animal, very valuable animal. He saw that rest was good and the land was pleasant. He bowed his shoulder to bear a burden, and the land became a band of slaves. We can talk about that later. Dan shall judge his people. The word Dan means judge. Daniel, the word Daniel means God is judge. El being God, God is judge. He, as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent, by the way. He was a viper by the path that bites the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for your salvation, O Lord. One of the stories of the tribe of Dan that's disturbing to me is they were originally given land in the south, but they didn't like it there. So they went north into Israel, and they came across a village of people that the Bible describes as being at peace, each man having his own place, being at peace and well rested, and they killed them all and took their place. These weren't even Israelites. So Dan, that's what he means by Dan being a serpent. Sneaky. Gad, a troop shall. The word Gad means a troop. When she had Gad, she goes, a troop is coming. I got all these children. We would say, well, you're going to have a basketball team, aren't you? You know, that's the kind of thing we would say. So she said, a troop is coming. Because I think it was Leah. And so that's his name. A troop shall tramp upon him, but he shall triumph at last. Bread from Asher shall be rich, and he shall yield royal dainties. This part of the land that Asher had was the breadbasket. Naphtali is a deer let loose. He uses his beautiful words. Gad, a troop shall trample upon him. I read it again. Hang on, I repeated that. Joseph is a fruitful bough. A fruitful bough by a well. His branches shall run over the wall. So Joseph basically means fruitful, and the archers have bitterly grieved him, shot him, and hated him. But his bow remained in strength, and the arms of his bands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. For there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. By the God of your father who will help you, and by the Almighty who will bless you with blessings of heaven and above, blessings of the deep that lies beneath, blessings of the breast and the womb. Blessings of your father have excelled the blessings of my ancestors, up to the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. See, Joseph's territory, which was Ephraim and Manasseh, were Joseph's territory. They were the very fruitful part of Israel on the hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, on the crown of the head of him who was separate from his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he will devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. What's Benjamin known for? A couple of things, at least. One of them is he was a tribe even though they were small in number and territory, they had 600 left-handed archers that would come to the aid of the armies of Israel. I think it's 600. It could be 700. I have to look that up. I forgot which one it is. But so what are the odds of one tribe of people having that many trained archers that are all left-handed? Must be a trait that runs through that tribe, left-handedness. And guess what Benjamin means, ironically, in the name Benjamin? It means son of my right hand. That's the name of that's what the name means. They were famous for having left-handed archers. But what else are they known for? How about King Saul, a great warrior, stood head and shoulders above all the other people of Israel. He was a Benjamite. So God picked the first tribes. And there's some other things about Benjamin too, even though they were small. But they're a son of Rachel, and God blessed Joseph and Benjamin for whatever reason. See? So this is what he says to all these tribes. We could look for weeks at all the fulfillments in the Bible, some of these things. We're not going to do that. But this is the setting forth sort of the character of the people. Now, you can say, and I say it all the time, humans are all alike. Historically, we're all pretty much similar. You can go back in time and you can find all the same characteristics of the ancient people that we have today. I'll never forget going to that museum in Chicago where they have all those, the Oriental Institute I've told you about before. You go there, you see all these ancient artifacts from Egypt and Palestine. Just a couple of odd things. You see sandals there that look exactly like the sandals you buy today online and think you're so cool. They look exactly like them, and you can see the toe prints, just like you would a modern sandal where somebody's worn for a while. You see exactly that impressions in these things. Evolution hasn't changed feet much. And then you see in one of the displays this it looks like a mirror type thing. It wasn't real shiny, but it was obviously meant to be shiny or metal. And it's got colors on it, a little bit of some smudges of color. And some other little things with it. What that was, they found, it's a makeup mirror. It's a mirror, shined here. You couldn't see, maybe it wasn't glass like our mirrors, but it was shiny. And you can still see this woman's different colors of makeup that she had around the edges of it that she was using. It sound familiar? Little children's toys. They have little toys, hand-carved wood toys that they carve for the little children, little boys, little swords and little other kind of things that little boys like to play with. That's what they have. So you see these things, they're 3,000 or 4,000 years old, some of them are, at least 3,000 years old. People haven't changed. But on the other hand, people are different. Different cultures of people are different. Americans, even ones, strangely enough, even ones whose ancestors, well, almost all of us came from somewhere else, even ones that are fairly recent immigrants to the United States, a generation or two, like my father, a generation or two removed from another country, take on American characteristics relatively quickly. Europeans don't like us. I think they're just jealous, that's my view of it, because we are so independent. We think we should take care of ourselves. And they criticize us because Americans are so independent and think they can do everything and are so pushy. What are they talking about? What they're talking about is they live in a continent where everybody's had the same land and the same people have had the same land for 2,000 years. Nobody's moved. Nobody's done anything over there, relatively speaking. We live in a country and where all of our ancestors and the whole culture is built on expanding and doing more and conquering a wilderness, defeating our enemies, inventing new things, and we still have that spirit in us. We don't like to be told what to do by the king. They're all fine whatever the king says. And they criticize us because we don't like to be told what to do by the king. Okay, have it your way. I would say, well, just don't call us the next time the king puts his heel on your throat. But anyway, they'll call a country that doesn't believe in a king when some other king is putting his heel on their throat. But The point is, we are different as Americans. And that can change over time in a good or bad way. Do all those American characteristics, are they all good? Do they always have good outcomes? No, they don't. Are they all bad? Of course not. They have strengths and weaknesses to them. And so but to say that we're the same as people that grew up in a dictatorship in Malaysia is not true. And these tribes, our ancestors, teach us things that we don't even know we know about how to live, how to approach our life in fundamental ways, for good or for bad. My friend who went over to, he was a preacher right after the Iron Curtain fell in the late 80s, early 90s. He went to Czechoslovakia. Him and another fellow to preach the gospel, lived over there for 3 or 4 years. He baptized some people, and they were trying to figure out how to do some things, like get a piece of property or for a building or whatever they were going to do. And he said he was frustrated to him because he said every time I mentioned, well, let's do this, he gave the Czech words for it was, it can't be done. Every word, it can't be done. Whatever they said in Czech. Meaning that you think that you can just do something because you want to, as if you're in America. It can't be done. And he said they were right about a lot of things. Can't be done. At least not easily. And so it was difficult to do the things that he thought they could do. So we're determined by that. And these men, these tribes are going to live out these prophecies. Then he charged them and said, I am to be gathered to my people. There's that phrase again. I'm going to be gathered to my people. He did not believe, per se, that his ancestors were just gone. They're there. I'm going to be gathered to them. Buried me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite. Now, the question of interpretation here is the phrase gathered to my people and buried with my fathers, is that the same phrase? Is that what he means by gathering to my fathers? Gather up my bones and put them with my ancestors? Or does he mean I'm going to be buried and gathered to my fathers in a different way? You see the difference in the two things? I think it's the latter. I think he means my body's going to be in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron the Hittite, and I'm going to be gathered to my people. And the cave is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite as a possession for a burial place. And we read about that earlier. And there they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. And there they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife. And there I buried Leah. But he didn't bury who there? Rachel. She's buried on the road on the way to Bethlehem. And the field and the cave that is there were purchased from the sons of Heth. And when Jacob had finished commending his sons, he drew his feet up to the bed and breathed his last and was gathered to his people. So there's the death and there's the gathering to the people. Okay, and then they take his body later and bury it. So now go back to this. These are the 12 tribes of Israel. This is what the Father spoke to them, and he blessed them, each one according to his blessing. So here's a map of how that's going to look later. Can you see the map? Have I got it up there? These are where the people settled. And you see how Judah is a fairly big tribe.